Consider different universities and colleges. Notice the different prices. Explore financial aid packages. Look for grants and scholarships.
You may want to work part-time while you're in school to limit the amount of debt you take on. There are studies showing that working 15 hours or less a week can actually help with time management and studies. Work during the summer. Some employers help pay for school. Your school counselor can help with this as you get closer to finding a financial aid package.
One of my friends is getting closer to senior year and everything, and then he realizes that he's going to have a pretty big loan.
Well, I mean, you see these stuff on TV, and they're like, you can, get, whatever it is, $30,000 per quarter or something. And, that just seems a little ridiculous to me that anybody would want to graduate with that much debt. And I guess people just don't realize how long it would take to pay that off.
It's essential to know what you're getting into and whom you're getting into it with.
Start with the safest loans, federal loans. Interest rates on federal loans don't change over time, and they aren't affected by your credit rating. They're the cheapest, they offer the most protection, and they give you more options.
Become familiar with the details of your loan. Know the interest rate and the fees, and know how much it will cost you to pay the loan off in full.
Funding for financial aid has been cut, so more and more students will have to turn to private loans as opposed to federal loans. The interest rate in some private loans is variable and can increase, which makes your loan more expensive. You want a fixed rate loan, which means the interest rate will stay the same. If you have to get a variable interest loan, you want to know how high the interest rate can go. Some students are paying 18% or 20% on these student loans, which is quite a jump up from the Stafford loan at 6.8%. And make sure your fixed loan is really fixed.
Think about when you have to start making payments. Are there penalties for paying the loan off early? And will the loan prevent you from receiving federal student aid?
Be aware of private loans in disguise. Some schools put their own name on private loans, or some loans have names that make them sound safer than they really are.
Credit cards and loans are legal obligations. Know what you are signing.
Your college may have a preferred lenders list. There's been recent scandals where lenders pay to get on these preferred lists. Now, these loans may not be the least expensive, so don't limit yourself to these preferred lists.
Get organized and keep all of your records. Save all of your correspondence and all of your loan documents.
Do not take out a bigger loan than is necessary. Apply for grants or scholarships, or look for work study or work positions to limit your debt.
I have some student loan going on. It's right now the one that I have is it's one of the subsidized federal loans. So hopefully I'm going to be able to avoid a lot of the commercial loans, because I know those are a bad deal, but I don't know what my financial situation is going to be like in the future. So.
All the marketing tells us to buy now. And I'm here to tell you to resist the urge and save for that purchase you want to make until you can pay for it in cash.
Here's another way saving can save you money. Save and set aside $100 to $500 for those little things we don't think about, or for an emergency. There's always those little things like a parking ticket, a lab fee, tattoo cover-up. If you set aside a little cash, then you can pay with cash. You don't have to turn to costly mode of credit and run up your debt.
It's good to get into the habit of saving for the long term. Just a little bit can turn into a large amount over time.
Your money can also grow over time with proper investing. But remember, with investing, there's always risk. And usually the higher the growth potential, the higher the risk.
You can make compound interest work for you. And the younger you start saving, the better. That's more time for the interest to grow.
I have a plan to make sure you control your debt, to keep your debt in a box. It's a spending plan.
A spending plan will help keep you from overspending.
It's the money you have available to spend minus your expenses within a definite time period, say a month, quarter, or semester. You identify the money you have available to spend within your time frame, and with that in mind, you set limits.
When we don't set limits and spend more than we have, that creates debt.
You don't want to budget like the federal government because it spends more money than it brings in. You also don't want to budget like Enron, that exaggerated their income and lied about their expenses.
Right alongside your spending plan is keeping track of your spending. If you don't stick to your limits, your spending plan won't help.
I write a budget, and I also have online banking with my credit union, so I watch that. But I have friends who record their purchases in a spiral notebook. They list the date, how much they spent on any particular item, and then they subtract that from their account balance, so they know how much money they have left to spend.
If there's a particular category that's giving you trouble, say shopping or going out, you can set a limit for that category. Write the limit down on a piece of paper or use your computer. Let's say it's $200. Record every time you spend money in that particular category. Write down the date, what you bought, how much you spent, and with each purchase you subtract from your limit. So that when you reach $200 or whatever your limit is, when it reaches zero, your spending is done.
One of my friends uses an envelope for dinners out. He puts a set amount of cash into the envelope, and when he dines out, he takes money out of the envelope. When the cash is gone, he has reached his limit, and he cooks at home.
Be good with your money. Distinguish between wants and needs. Think about what you really need. Comparison shop and go for the best deals. Be careful of rationalizing overspending. Always know your debt level and think twice before you increase it. And to protect your budget, make sure you're properly insured.
The problem with credit cards is they can feel like they're helping you, like they're a supplement instead of a cost. Using a credit card takes from the amount of money that you have available to spend.
Let's find another one. $42, Shorties. I don't even remember going to Shorties, and I'm probably still paying it off.
Student loans can also feel like a budget supplement because they don't have to be paid off for 4 years.
Here's a good rule to live by. Make decisions based on your financial situation as it is right now, not as you imagine it to be in the future. If you live reasonably now and things don't work out exactly as you planned, then you're not in over your head.
Another way to say that is, if you live like a professional while you're in school, you'll live like a student once you've graduated. Did you know that how you use credit and loans is being recorded, and that this information will affect your ability to take out loans after graduation? It's like you're being graded. Fair Isaac Corporation, the business that creates your credit score, says there are 2 factors in determining your credit score: making payments on time, which is why it's so important that you know your due dates, and your debt levels, which a budget can reduce or prevent.
Banks, credit unions, and other lenders look at your credit, among other things such as income, debt, and assets, when deciding whether to loan you money. Landlords and potential employers can look at your credit as well.
The credit reporting and scoring system is far from perfect. And there's privacy concerns and concerns about fairness, and some people feel like we're in the dark as to exactly how the scoring system works. And sometimes there's concerns about accuracy. If your credit report has negative, incorrect information, that will adversely affect your credit score.
I recommend checking your credit reports once a year and before any major borrowing choice. As consumers, each of us is entitled to 1 free credit report from each of the 3 credit reporting businesses every year. You can do this at annualcreditreport.com. They may try to sell you things, but you don't have to buy anything.
If debt hits the fan, please know that there are solutions. Take control and seek help. Putting off the problem will only cost you more money. So will seeking help from folks who exploit those with a financial challenge.
Spend within your means, and never take a loan if you don't have to, and just try and stay above water at all times.
Also, I think some kind of education about it would be really important, because I know a lot of people just don't have that understanding. And with the current credit crisis we're going through right now, I think a lot of that is just due to lack of education about how credit cards work and how loans in general work.
Being an engaged consumer is vital to avoiding debt issues. That means taking responsibility for your financial situation and making informed and intentional decisions.
The student loan and credit card laws and policies are not set in stone and are not natural events like the sun rising and setting. They change due to lobbying efforts and public opinions.
Part of being an engaged consumer is being an active citizen. If you're bothered by some of the debt information you've heard about starting 50 yards behind the starting line, I encourage you to do something about it.
I learned you can have your name taken off all the marketing lists so you don't get all that junk mail. I brought the information. To stop the credit card solicitations, you call 1-888-5-OPT-OUT. And that stops the credit bureaus from selling your name for 2 years.
You're at a time in your life where you have a lot of choices. And I wanted you to know that the less debt you have, the more choices you have. This is what I want you to ask yourself. Ask each other. Are you going to be debt slapped? Or are you going to slap back? The choice is yours.